Hi, everyone. It's me, Lars. Guess what? You are about to listen to episode 50 of Tabletop Gold. Episode 50. It's so hard to believe that we've already made 50 episodes of this podcast. When David, Zoe, Armat, Robin, and I started this show around a year ago, we knew it would be fun, but we had no idea whether anybody would be interested in joining us as we played this great game and enjoyed this great adventure together. But over the last year, we've received such a warm outpouring of support and enthusiasm for what we're doing on this show, and that has been great. It feels really good to hear from you guys that you're enjoying the show. And it has been my personal favorite part of this whole experience to see and be a part of the community forming up around Tabletop Gold. The folks that hang out on our Discord, the people that we hear from every week on Reddit and social media. So to say thank you back to all of you, to all of the friends of Hoot, we are doing a giveaway. Between May 30th and June 12th of this year, that's 2022, sorry to all you listeners joining us in the far-flung future, you can head to www.tabletopgold.com and follow the link to a form where all you got to do is fill it out with your email address to enter our giveaway. And then on June 13th, we're going to randomly pick some winners. And here is what we have for you. 2 second prize winners will get a $25 gift card to heroforge.com, which you can use to make a custom miniature of your favorite TTRPG character. We use HeroForge to make the characters in our own game, so we thought it might be a nice way to say thanks to you because it works so well for us. And 1 grand prize winner will get a copy of Paizo's new hardcover Abomination Vaults compilation. The entire adventure we are playing through right now in one nice hardcover edition. And that book is going to be personally signed by all of us here at Tabletop Gold. And that's about it for this giveaway. Good luck to everybody who enters. It's just our little way of saying thank you, and we hope that you guys enjoy it. And that's about it for me. Thank you so much for joining us over this great first year, and thank you for staying with us as our game gets even better over the next one. Without any further ado, here it is. Please enjoy Tabletop Gold, episode 50.
In a quiet seaside town, an evil laid to rest centuries ago has risen. An abandoned fortress deep in the swamp holds a secret that could save the village or destroy it. Now, a band of adventurers sets out to dig up the wounds of the past and bring the light of day to the roots of ruin. This is Tabletop Gold.
Friends, and welcome to not just another edition of Tabletop Gold, but the big one. Super Bowl L was what they called Super Bowl 50, and that's what we're going to call tonight's episode of Tabletop Gold.
Super Bowl?
No, I realized why you said that. That was why it was a little confusing on my end.
More like Super Owl, Hoot reference.
Oh, it's a Hoot reference. It's the Super Owl. 50L. It's Tabletop Gold. My name's Lars Casteen. Thanks for putting up with that intro. Let's go ahead and meet everybody else who's on this show. We got owls, all the owls in the house. Hooty hoot. Robin.
Hoot.
Okay, Robin.
Hoot.
Yep. Okay, Robin Lange is here.
Hi.
Hi. Armet Humphreys is here.
Good evening.
No, wait a minute.
Wait, no, that wasn't.
No. The person who just answered for Armet Humphreys is, of course, David the Tin Man Chernicoff.
Hi.
That's Zoe Chernicoff there saying hi. And Armet, are you actually here?
You know,
Wait.
sources vary on that one.
So the reason that was just the most annoying thing you've ever heard, listener, is because you may have heard in past episodes of this podcast that I was like, in episode 50, we're going to stop saying hello to everybody. You better know who everyone is by now because we're rubber's hitting the road and we're changing up the intro.
Bow, bow, bow.
And this week on our Discord of all places, a community online that is populated by our most dedicated listeners, a conversation came up and people said that they have trouble telling Armet Humphreys' voice from the voice of David the Tin Man Chernicoff.
Now, I don't know which is which either.
No.
Well,
never.
nobody does
Yeah.
Never
because
have.
they did the Parent Trap on us as they were doing the intro. They Freaky Friday'd us. Does that make sense?
It does.
It was
Okay,
definitely
good.
a Lindsay Lohan movie of some. we
some
Herbie
repute.
that
We
shit.
mean girls to you.
So, listener, we're going to do a thing right now in honor of the 50th episode. First off, I'm going to tell you, we're going to keep introducing ourselves at the beginning of every show until everybody gets it. We're just going to keep hammering this nail in exactly the same way, and we're going to hope for a different result eventually. So, Armet, I want to talk to you for a second, and I want to ask you to describe something about yourself that is very different from something about David the Tin Man Chernicoff.
I am sort of, oh God. David, how am I different than you? Like, this is actually now getting like, I'm in my own head about this and I'm terrified.
It's too much. It's too much
Yeah.
pressure on you, Armet, for you to answer this question about yourself.
Yeah.
David, how is Armet different from you?
Armet struggles with self-description,
Yes.
whereas
I do.
I have no trouble describing Armet. Does that make sense?
Sort of. Is there anything like relevant in a broader sense that tells anybody gives anybody new insights
Yeah,
into
yeah.
either one of you?
I think Armet tends to take questions and on things a little more seriously and earnestly than I do, whereas
Right.
I tend to just sort of deflect them into a series of gradually interlocking bits, like
Right,
Russian
right.
nesting dolls of obstreperous distraction. Whereas Armet wants to answer your question so thoroughly that he basically can't speak
Right.
anymore.
Right.
It's a pretty good example of a core difference between us.
It explains the two different ways in which I'm frustrated asking you the two of you to answer this question.
That is a good answer. I frustrate Lars in a totally different way.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, one where it's like have somewhat different like life living family set. Like I have two kids. Armet doesn't have kids. Armet does fun things with his spare time. I don't have spare time. I mean, I feel like what listeners need from us is something like vocal, like they need something to
Like a
vocally
vocal
distinguish
deal.
us. It doesn't help them to know how our personalities are different.
Okay,
does it?
so here's what I'm going to
This
say.
was my confusion.
yeah.
Like,
Okay,
yeah.
fair enough.
David's voice has a resonant peak right around 130 hertz, whereas Armet has a low resonant peak right around 170 hertz.
Well, why didn't
So-
we lead with that?
Yeah.
Yeah, I just thought it
Hit the
was
ball.
Come on.
implied.
Yeah.
I think this whole segment was just Lars wanting to say that, but needing to manufacture an excuse for it.
I just hesitated to bring it up because anybody who has spent hours of their life mixing the audio of this podcast knows that like the back of their hand.
Yeah.
Like this is just obvious information for anybody who has dealt with the audio of these two gentlemen.
So,
Yeah.
Lars, out of the four of
Yes.
us, who's the bigger pain in the ass to mix?
Oh, we opened it up to everyone, though. That's
Out of the
yeah,
four of us.
Yeah. Whose audio is trickiest? Armet's audio is trickiest. because Armet is rarely on microphone.
So it's been David all along. Every time everyone has thought
That's true.
that
That's
it was
true.
Armet, it was actually David.
I mean, it's actually really funny because my mind, when it was first brought up on the Discord that people have trouble telling Armet and David apart, I was like, what are you talking about? Armet's the one who's not on mic. Like, it's so easy to tell. It's like so obvious to me as somebody who mixes this show.
I like to stick and move, you know?
Yes. No, never let him know where you're coming from, you know?
Exactly.
Always change where the target is. Guys, it's been a little bit of time since we recorded because Robin, I just want to let you know, listener, you might hear some coughing on this week's episode because Robin is getting over a disease that you may have heard of.
Oh, man. It
Folks.
finally happened, guys. You can run, but you can't
Robin
hide.
got COVID.
Comes for the best of us.
I have been home all week. Today is Thursday. I'm going to stay home again tomorrow. I'm finally no longer with a fever, with my throat's no longer on fire. I went for a walk today, guys. It was my first time outside.
Out
I'm
in
like,
the world.
5 days. I went for 2 short walks around the block and got
How many people
winded.
did you kiss on the walk around?
Everyone.
That explains some extent of the numbers that I'm seeing in New York.
Queens, yeah.
Yes.
No, I was masked. But yeah, I got winded both times. So, and I was on the phone with my boss at one time, just kind of checking in on a couple things and just saying like, yeah, I'm probably not going to be in tomorrow. And then by the end of the walk, I was winded. I was like, yeah, I'm definitely not going to be in
Not
tomorrow.
coming.
And she was
Not
like,
coming.
yeah, no,
Yeah.
stay home.
Well, I appreciate you rallying with us in this game of imagination, adventure, and danger.
Episode 50.
Yeah, we're going to have a lot of fun tonight. Before we get into the game, I want to take a moment to thank everyone who has left a review of Tabletop Gold at their podcast app of choice, such as Friar Took, who left this review saying that our show is a truly great show, that they stumbled onto the podcast as a 5e veteran looking to get acquainted with 2e and with the Abomination Vault's adventure path. I'm glad they're along for the ride. I appreciate them. I appreciate you, Friar Took, leaving that review for us. It is a huge help, and every review matters. So, let's get into it. Let's play our game. Your plan to venture back into the keep below Gauntlight and enter the mysterious room behind the door depicting the strange deity Nimbleoth has hit a snag. After an ambush by a particularly strong ghoul left you bruised and depleted, you started the journey to leave the dungeon for the day, but that journey has been cut short. Just before you were able to start climbing the stairs back to the surface, a terrified half-orc man stumbled into the room, shouting incoherently about being attacked by kobolds and begging for your help. We're going to pick up from there. Just so you know, everybody, this is episode 50. I know I've said it a million times. I'm going to say it again. That means that we are breaking off another 5. Hero points have all been reset to 1 each. We have a new hand of 4 hero point cards submitted by our listeners on our Discord who may not know the difference between Armat and David, but do know that they can submit hero point cards right there in the hero point card submissions channel. You are in this reading room where you first encountered your friend or your companion or your this guy that grosses you out, Augriel.
New bestie.
There's a secret door leading into this room that you opened up last time you were here, and this half-orc man stumbled into the room having run through the tunnels and is shouting for your help, saying that 2, maybe 3 kobolds are chasing him. And he's looking at you, terrified and out of breath, dirt covering his working clothes, looking as though he is horribly lost and confused. Where the hell am I?
Did you say kobolds?
Well, yes, I was in the woods, minding my own business. I was making my way to my special spot, a clearing in the woods that only old Philrook knows about. It's the perfect spot for picking the most delicious mushrooms. He catches a glimpse of Augriel and loses his breath for a moment. He's like, what is that?
I knew they'd want to make friends with me. How many of them are there? The kobolds, I mean.
Well, yes, I'm sorry. I didn't even get to that part of the story yet. I was reaching down to pluck a delightful pair of lion's mane mushrooms, and suddenly a pair of kobolds, of all things, ambushed me and started attacking me with their spears.
Are you sure they weren't friendly? I think they're friendly.
If they were friendly, they sure had a strange way of showing it. And he reaches down and grabs his leg, which has a weeping wound on it. There's blood, a trickle of blood running behind him. And it seems that he has been injured by somebody.
Guys, I bet this is a big misunderstanding. I know these kobolds. I'm pretty sure it's the same ones I've met back in town. They're good friends of mine.
Well, be that as it may, Norman, perhaps I should lay on hands. Just take care of the active bleeding, you know?
Oh, sure, yeah.
Vadim goes over and lays on hands and invokes Pharasma's blessing in order to cure Philoric's wounds.
As Trill sees that also reminds her that she'd wanted to give Norman the Wand of Soothe a while ago. So she kind of, as she looks at this guy, she just hands that over to Norman.
Oh, yeah, I think my medical skills will do it, but thanks, Trill. I'll hang on to this just in case.
Oh, thank you so much for tending to this old man's wounds. You truly are a friendly sort to find here in... Where are we? I started running and I tumbled down some rocky slope and I found myself in a tunnel and... Is this a couch I've fallen over? What's happening? As he pats Vadim on the shoulder in a sign of gratitude.
Yes, friend, perhaps you could sit for a moment. Like so, yes, that's perfect. You've done this before, I can tell. Now, I don't mean to alarm you, but somehow you have found your way into the ruins beneath Gauntlet Keep.
My goodness. Oh no.
Yes, but not to worry, friend. We were just exiting after a day of exploring, and we would be delighted to serve as your escort back to town.
Yeah, we'll keep you safe.
Well, so you're gonna help me go back and get my mushroom picking bag, are you? They're hunting me, is what they're doing. First they take your bag, and then they take your life.
Now, why would they do that? You ever seen them before? I mean, they're friends of mine. That just seems so strange.
I don't know what kind of friends you keep. They just started running at me silently and stabbing me in my old man's legs.
Did you have a mushroom on the bag so they knew what was in there? I mean, any person with a bag is going to want to put a clear symbol of what they've got in the bag on the bag.
A large decal.
Of course I put a mushroom on the bag. It's my best mushroom picking bag. Do you fancy old Philric a fool?
No. Of course not. Did they come down that tunnel? Were they after you?
They must be chasing me. They chased me down that rocky slope and I just ran for my damn life until I saw this light creeping out of this here crack in the wall and suddenly I'm sitting on a couch.
Mag walks over to the hole in the wall that he's come through and tries to see down the hallway whether they're hot in pursuit.
Do you see them? Are they coming for me?
Do I see them? Are they coming for him? Okay.
No, you don't. Great question.
I'd be happy to GM for 12 seconds if that would...
I think Norman feels like, because Norman thinks he is like befriending these kobolds, which he's utterly failed to do, of course, in real life. He wants to like sense motive on this guy just to make sure he's telling the truth. Like, I think Norman himself doesn't trust him.
Totally. Give me a blind perception roll, please. So Norman, looking at Philric, is convinced that this guy is absolutely telling the truth.
And also that he's a Mitflit.
and also that he's a Mitflit. And but yeah, Norman is confident that this guy looks scared half to death. I think that maybe Norman has seen this guy around town from time to time. It's a familiar face for Norman, and this gentleman somehow ran down an underground tunnel and wound up here and just desperately wants you to take care of these kobolds that are chasing after him and to get his mushroom bag back. Totally telling the truth.
And Norman, you said you've met these kobolds before?
Oh, yeah. Oh, I mean, good friend. We go, back a way since I got to Otaria. They over in the burnt out building. I go over there sometime. When we're all in town and you guys are off, I don't know, studying things, and I'm stealing stuff or putting on my costumes, or what? Like, we all do our own thing in town. You guys, I don't ask you questions. Why are you on my back, man? Huh?
Well, the only real question, Norman, is if these are friends of yours, why would they attack a defenseless man in the forest?
I'm saying it's a misunderstanding. He probably doesn't speak Undercommon to them.
Well, these kobolds, when they attacked me, they weren't saying much of anything at all. Strangely silent, just running and stabbing, not much in the way of letting me even know they were coming.
Can Vadim make a recall knowledge check and use his... has 10 minutes passed? I guess, do I have the time to use my scholarly recollection?
Sure. Yeah, I think that as this conversation is ongoing, you have enough time to refocus and use scholarly recollection. Your focus spell, of course.
Cool. I think Vadim is going to say a quick prayer to Pharasma and try and invoke some knowledge of kobold war party tactics. And be like, do they do battle cries? Like, or are they like ambush raiders? Like, what?
Yeah.
Or would kobolds who are acting this way be magicked in some way?
Or perhaps
Undead. Okay. We should specify for the listener, Armat and I both said it there.
We both
that
did
was
that,
confusing.
because we were enjoying that moment. Yeah.
That could have been really jarring for somebody. They're like, the one person is using two voices at the same time.
See, I'm the bits guy who distracts stuff, right? Are we all?
It's so easy. It's so easy to tell.
Simple.
You love your bits.
Yeah, Armat's talking lore. David's doing a bit. It's easy.
Straight ahead.
Yeah, Armat, what kind of check do you want to do for that?
My society is not good, so
I would give you nature also for kobolds potentially.
Yeah, let's totally do nature then, please. And I get to roll it 2 times.
Blind roll twice, please.
Aye, Cap'n.
So Vadim doesn't have much firsthand experience with kobolds or kobold tactics. But the idea that this guy is describing of 2 kobolds running at the same time and just silently starting to stab him, that doesn't sound like the typical hit and run sort of get an advantage at any cost kind of like pack fighting tactics that you would expect from a kobold. But you don't have much in the way of specifics.
Norman, I think you're right. Something does feel off to me. I feel Pharasma's presence warning me of something, but I can't determine what it is. I think we should look into this.
Tell you what. The mushroom picking bag is really nice. If you help me get all the rest of my stuff back, I'll even let you keep the bag.
Oh. Well, I love a bag, especially with an emblem on it. Mag, you pick mushrooms, right?
I do have some experience with foraging, and also I think with this man, Philric, you've been in Otari for at least the last 20 years, no?
Oh, sure. I've been here my whole life. Wait a minute. Are you that Lacewing kid, the Lacewing Skullcrusher kid? Or is that you? My God, you've grown like a weed.
Thank
like
you.
a mushroom, I'd say. Like a delightful lion's mane mushroom. You can tell that I've researched one kind of edible mushroom.
Yeah,
and it's the lion's mane mushroom.
But your knowledge there, though, is deep.
I know the entire name of the mushroom.
And that it grows.
Are you? Oh, okay. I'll take your word for it.
Mag says, yes, that's the kindest thing anyone's ever said to me.
Look at those muscles. My God.
Oh, stop.
You're like the growths on a lion's mane.
Is it getting hotter in here, anyone? I'm starting to perspire. I think we should help Philric, and I think we should see what it is that's causing these kobolds to act so aggressively and so strangely. Those of you with magic, are you ready to be back in the fray before we return to town?
Oh, yeah, we can clear this right up.
Yeah, sure. Why not? Go handle some kobolds. It's on the way back anyway.
In my experience, they generally like snacks. Meg, do you have here? Oh, I think I have an old snook. And Norman reaches into one of the pockets of his cape and he's like, here, we'll set this out for them. They always understand you mean well when you leave out a snack. That's what I've been doing. That's how we got to know each other.
Mag takes the snook.
Yeah, let's
Norman,
just hope
is
there's
that-
no, oh, sorry.
Oh, no. Go ahead.
Let's just hope there's no,
Oh God, COVID brain.
Oh, no, the brain fog.
No, the brain fog.
let's just hope there's no will-o'-the-wisps, because I got no fairy fire left.
I didn't see any wills of any wisps up there. It was just a couple kobolds stabbing me in my damn shins.
If we run into any wisps out there, Trill, I'll try hitting them with a hammer over and over again and see if I can bash them to death.
Yeah, good luck with that.
I've stumbled into the right room. It seems incredibly bad luck to have been picking mushrooms in the woods and then suddenly end up in the mysterious ruins below Gauntlet. But to find the four of you who have a hammer that can kill a will-o'-the-wisp, incredible good fortune. Old Philric must have done something right.
There's 5 of us actually, and Mag turns to Augriel. Augriel, I'm afraid it sounds like the rest of this, we're called to duty, and the rest of this duty will be somewhere that it would hurt your eyes. Man, I have COVID brain too, Robin.
Mag, it sounds like you're trying to tell me that you're gonna go somewhere.
Yes, and it will be bright there.
Oh, no. Yes, I will stay here and I will read my book.
Armad, could you do the rest of my dialogue?
I have some thinking and some reading to do that I would like to take care of. So you go look after this old fool and I'll stay here thinking about various topics that are interesting to me.
I don't find that disconcerting at all.
That one's a real creepy weirdo, isn't he?
Oh, God, you're telling me. This whole dungeon, oh, my God. Anyway.
He whispers over to Vadim. He's like, I don't like that strange, rotting man that treats you like you're his friend.
To be perfectly honest, I have certain complicated feelings about it myself. However, he has a good heart. And he's been through a lot.
Aww.
Meanwhile, Norman has already wandered up the hallway in an effort to make good graces with these kobolds whose danger he's obviously ignoring. Nang nang bonabo! He's shouting in a very friendly way up the hallway.
I'd like to point out, Vadim admitted that Augriel has a heart.
Oh.
Well, figuratively. I don't know about literally.
I don't know about literally either. It's been a while since I've checked.
And he starts pulling at the flesh on his
Oh,
chest.
no,
and
not
tries to take a look
necessary.
inside.
Really not necessary, my friend. Oh. Vadim catches Mag's eye and sort of gestures with his head at Norman, sort of striding and I don't know. I'm assuming sort of cheerfully and boldly.
Oh, very gregariously.
I didn't want to assume, but
Yeah,
I
he's off
hoped
to
that
go,
was
like,
the
prove
case,
to everyone that these kobolds, with whom he has, let's be clear, literally no familiarity because they've hid from him every time, are basically his other best friends who this group doesn't know about.
Meg, maybe we'd better make sure Norman is not alone. in the tunnel that we don't know anything about?
Agreed. And, Mag goes in.
Vadim claps Philoric on the back and says, I think the bleeding has set enough now that you won't be in any danger of further harm. I'd better catch up with my friends. And he sort of hurriedly strides down the tunnel.
Oh, well, don't leave me behind. I was going to show you where the kobolds attacked me. Let me help out, please. I'm not going to stay in here with this creature.
Well, Phil, you better get a move on.
I'm trying to, but I'm not as young as I once was. I'm not as old as I once will be in the future, though, so I
Can you
suppose I
outpace
should
a gnome?
I don't know. I've never tried before. Let's give her a shot, shall we?
And Trill waits go.
Bye, Augie Gusgolly. See you next time.
Okay, goodbye.
Miss you.
So you start following Philrook down this winding natural passageway. Philrook is telling you the story over and over again of how the kobolds silently ran in and just started stabbing him and chasing him in a direction that eventually led him down this rocky slope. Oh yeah, they're little fellas for sure, but they can team up on you and take you out before you can even say Chanterelle.
More like team up on you and take you out for a drink, bud. Come on, we're going to clear this up.
I do appreciate you treating my wounds, but they still do exist. I do have stab wounds that suggest that something happened to me.
Well, I mean,
Yes?
the moral of the story is you gotta watch what you're doing.
I like the cut of your lion's mane mushroom.
Yeah, there it is.
Oh, I thought we meant like
Nice,
molar.
nice.
I misunderstood. I thought it was a tooth joke. Not the molar of this story.
Oh, it could have been a tooth reference. I don't know the things you young people are talking about these days. And he just continues leading you down this natural hallway that gives way into a wider sort of underground passageway. And after a few minutes of following him, you find yourselves looking at daylight. It's right around 11 in the morning. And a short ways after you first see this light, this wide tunnel opens up into a steep, rocky valley. I think it takes your eyes a moment to adjust as you step out into the sunlight.
Oh.
So you're kind of coming up out of this tunnel into a valley that has walls on either side of you. And above you, there are vines draped between the two sides of this valley, creating kind of a canopy.
Does it look like this has been done deliberately, or is it just natural undergrowth?
Give me a survival check. How's Vadim as an outdoorsman?
Terrible.
Unnatural.
Yeah, Vadim is able to get the sense, looking around this valley with these vines overhead, that you're coming out of an underground warren of sorts, and this seems to be a ramp leading down into these underground passageways that is meant to be obscured by these vines. These vines themselves are meant to hide the presence of this valley that you're standing in now. On this incline, this grassy incline leading up into the woods, you see that there's a jumble of stones. You hear the sound of birds chirping. The sort of oppressive, unnatural feeling of being in this library has completely gone away. You're out here in the wilderness, and Philric looks behind him and says to you, "Well, yes, this is the slope they chased me down."
This is a beautiful place for a picnic. I think we're going to be able to sit down, have some of this schnook, and just talk this over. I know they hurt you, but I think we'll find out it was a misunderstanding.
Hey, Norman, keep your voice down. I feel there's something about this, though. I feel like being herded or something like cattle. Like this just feels. I feel like we're being watched here or something. Like I feel like we need to be quiet here, guys. Like we are.
No, says Norman, thinking this is all just such. He's like, look, there's no one.
Shh. There's all these sides up on us, and anyone could be looking down at us, and we don't know it.
It's best to be cautious in a new place.
But I do hope you're right, Norman. I hope it's nothing.
Trill's feeling very nervous and kind of goes up against the edge of this kind of cliffside so that one side of her is kind of protected because she just feels like they've been herded into this area, so there's a trap going on.
There's no need to be nervous. And Norman whips his rapier out and he's like, we're fine. We're fine. I'm not even going to need this. I'm going to use it to cut up some of that. Mag, you got any cheese?
Oh, well, old Philric has some cheese in that mushroom bag. If we find that, I'll be happy to share some delicious lion's mane cheese with you. As Trill steps forward up this ramp.
Wait, Trill didn't say she was stepping forward.
What is she doing?
She was stepping closer against the wall.
So as she steps against the wall.
Her back's against the wall.
Her back against the wall. Her foot hits the ground. And there's nothing unusual about this footfall. It's just a normal sort of sound of a gnome's foot hitting the ground. Nothing, like you barely even hear it. It's not even worth mentioning.
Why are you mentioning it?
That's a great question. As her foot hits the ground, you hear a little bit of a sound following it. And you notice that the stones in front of you start sort of shaking around as though they were held on a mesh that was being jerked back and forth. And a moment later, these stones are sort of popping up into the air. You hear little popping sounds as these stones start kind of dancing around in front of you.
Is now a good moment for Vadim to draw his blades?
Sure. And Vadim, as he draws his blades, realizes that these popping sounds that are coming from these stones are actually coming from little mouths filled with stone teeth adorning each of these small stones. And these stones start bouncing higher and higher, taking form and rushing up into two wild, rolling swarms of biting rocks that move towards you in a swift, pummeling motion. And it is at this moment...
Roll for initiative.
Ew. God, so many things with mouths.
I know. These are particularly like vagina dentata also in a way that I think is like a little...
Yep.
Oh,
hello.
Wow.
Oh. Or a geode.
Vageode dentata.
I'm assuming stealth is not going to go here.
Not for Norman.
No, you were like yelling and stuff, weren't you?
I'm just saying, it's always worth checking.
It's always worth checking. It doesn't hurt to ask.
Yeah, could I roll athletics for initiative?
Walking is athletic.
Ooh, those things are big.
Okay, so Philric says, "Oh my goodness, what is that?" As these swarms of these tiny pebbles rise up in front of you, and I want to know how everybody did on their initiative roll. Robin, what did you get?
Trill rolled a 19.
Okay, pretty fast. How about Armad?
Eh.
Vadim got a 13 on the die for a 20.
Okay, even quicker. How about David? What did you roll?
It's only an 11 for Mag.
Okay. Maybe you just weren't expecting a bunch of rocks with mouths to pop out at this moment. And who would blame you?
Yeah, I was still looking in my pouch for cheese, I think.
Zoe, what did you roll for initiative?
Norman is describing the full layout. We'll get the champagne and we'll pour it in the cups. And he rolls a 2 for initiative for a total of 9.
appropriate.
So Norman maybe will notice that something is happening in a few moments. There's something I want to tell you about rules-wise before we get into this. I was debating whether or not to give this to you on a recall knowledge check, or whether I should just give it to you up front. These are rules that are in the core rule book. This isn't something about this creature. So I think now is a good time just to walk through this particular bit of rules, because this is the first time you've run into this. These creatures are what is called a swarm. Swarms are enemies that you can face that are a mass of tons and tons of little tiny creatures that take up a larger amount of space. There are 2 of these in front of you. Each of these is large, which means that they take up a 2x2 space on our battle grid that we have here. But they're not a large creature. They are hundreds and hundreds of tiny little pebbles.
Each with a mouth.
Each with a dainty little mouth filled with razor sharp teeth.
It's a cruel world.
Yeah, you don't want to be born a swarm of little mouth stones. Frankly, you're monsters for trying to fight these creatures at all.
It's gentle little babies.
Yeah, they're nice. They're sure they're snapping at you and trying to rip your flesh off, but whomst among us would not do so if a person came near us. Okay, so these swarms, they function like any other monster, but with a few exceptions. 1, swarms can move into the space of other creatures, and that's actually really the only way they're able to attack you. So where you decide to stand often has a profound effect on how an encounter with a swarm works. Swarms are usually weak to things that do area or splash damage. And swarms are usually resistant to certain types of damage, often some types of physical damage, again, to simulate the idea that these are many, many different creatures sharing a space rather than one large target. Swarms can't be grappled, prone, or restrained, again, because it's a bunch of tiny little creatures. You can't trip a bunch of ants, right? And swarms tend to have a trait called swarm mind that make it so that they're unaffected by mental effects that target a specific number of creatures, like demoralize. Demoralize says you frighten one creature, and this swarm will be immune to that because of its swarm mind. And with all of those rules explanations out of the way, let's do it. Let's get into it. Let's get into round 1. First off, there are 2 of these swarms here bearing down on the 4 of you and Philrook, who has run back into the tunnel and started whimpering. The first thing that happens is one of these swarms moves up so that Mag and Norman see just this rolling mass of pebbles flying around them, and you hear this pop of these teeth chittering and chattering the entire time. All of these little rocks start biting at you, biting at your clothing. And what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to do an athletics check, and I want to compare this to the fortitude DC of the 2 of you that are in this space with this swarm. So that's going to be a 16 athletics check. How does that compare to the fortitude DC of Norman or Mag?
It ties Norman's fortitude DC, which, as I understand it, means it always goes to me, and I'm safe.
Okay. That's an interesting interpretation of the rules. A popular one, but still an interesting one.
Omnipresent.
DC is 10 plus the modifier.
Yes.
A 16 is lower than Mag's fortitude DC, which is 20.
Okay. So what happens is these creatures start swarming around you, spinning around, biting you, trying to pull you down to the ground. Norman, attempting to resist the pull of these stones, finds himself failing to do so and is pulled prone by these creatures. The other swarm, Vadim and Trill, see this mass of stones rolling towards them. The 2 of you get pummeled like little bits of sideways hail. And you have a total of 8 points of bludgeoning damage coming to you, but I need a reflex save from each of you.
I rolled a natural 20 on my roll, so for a 29.
Trill got a 17.
17 succeeds. The DC was 17, so you're going to take half damage. You take 4 points of bludgeoning damage. Vadim takes 0. He managed to dodge out of the way of these stones just pelting him over and over and over again. But they do it again, and they start pummeling at Vadim and Trill one more time. This time it's 5 points of bludgeoning damage coming your way, and please make this reflex save.
That's a 19.
That's a 27.
In this case, Vadim succeeds, takes 2 points of bludgeoning damage. Trill critically succeeds, dodges out of the way, ducking and weaving between these stones. And that is it for these two swarms of stones' turn. Philaric shouts out, "Oh, they're pummeling you!" And it is now Vadim's turn.
Does Vadim want to let Trill go first?
I'm not sure we get any mechanical advantage.
Inspire courage.
For Inspire Courage?
Inspire. Oh, yes, we do. Wow. He will delay.
All right, so as Vadim catches his breath, it is now Trill's turn.
So Trill, she's got her lute and she's kind of trying to hit them away with her lute, and she pulls out and starts hitting those chords of Thing Called Love to do Lingering Composition and Inspire Courage. So let's do that performance check. That's a 31.
Oh.
That is a critical success, meaning that your next comp cantrip goes 4 rounds.
Woo. So that's 4 rounds of Inspire Courage for everyone.
Thank you, Trill.
Thank you,
Thank you
Trill.
for saving
Thank
me
you, Trill.
from myself.
Thank you, Trill.
So she shouts out, "I'm sorry, guys. I know this is... I know it's going to hit you, but I got to do it." And so she acid splashes the further swarm. And that's a 28 to hit.
So tell me what this acid splash looks like as you critically hit this swarm.
Boom.
So it's like a jolt comes out of her lute as these jarring chords are played. But like this liquidy, electric-looking jolt comes out of her lute as it sprays onto these weird, rocky, teethy, bitey little bastards.
So you hear like a sizzling sound. So go ahead and roll your damage and double it, please.
4, so that's 8 damage.
So the initial hit of the acid slams into these rocks for 8 points of damage. And here's what's going to happen. Norman, Mag, and Vadim are each going to get hit by 1 point of splash damage as some of this acid flecks onto them. That splash damage also hits the swarm in question, and you get the impression that that does extra damage to the swarm as these stones start melting away under this spray of splashing. And that also hits the swarm that is hitting Vadim and Trill. So there's just this explosion of acid raining down all over the place, and it sort of burns at a few of you, but this swarm looks like it is getting thinned out rapidly.
Worth it.
Trill, you just made lemonade out of lemons. That's perfect for our picnic. Says Norman
Right
from the
to work.
ground.
If you squeeze a rock hard enough.
And with that, it is now Vadim's turn. Vadim barely able to see 5 feet in front of him because all of these stones pelting him in the face over and over again. What will Vadim do?
Now he's going to double slice and do his best to pick off the biggest looking stones he can snap his blades at. Got a 21 on the first strike and a 17 on the second dagger strike.
You hear clang clang as both of these strikes hit the swarm.
Awesome. That's 5 damage from vigilance and 7 damage from the dagger strike.
So those two combine, and you get the sense that these stones, as you're slicing at them over and over again, like knock your dagger and your sword away, and they are not doing much in the way of damage, but some of it does absolutely get through.
With his last action, Vadim is just going to make another dagger strike. That is a 16 to hit.
So that 16 hits only because Trill's inspiring words are filling your head.
Woo!
I'll call that a mechanical advantage every day.
So go ahead and roll damage again as Vadim slices out and knocks more of these stones out of the sky.
And that is 9 damage on that final dagger strike.
So again, you get the sense that just a little bit of that damage is going through, but Vadim is deftly cutting stone after stone after stone, and it is now Mag's turn. Mag sees that both of these swarms have been damaged pretty badly, and she sees Norman down on the mossy ground in front of her. What is Mag going to do?
Well, Mag, surprised, ambushed, bitten, burned gently, but burned with acid. Honestly, dear listener, it's kind of a shock that it's taking her this long to rage. But anyway, she rages. And her eyes glow red.
Yes, the glasses come out.
And her the braid running down her back pulses a light red, and red light emanates from her magically repaired left hand as she reaches back to grab the flail from off her back. For once, perhaps a combat where she doesn't immediately reach for Haplo.
Have any of you ever played the Ring Fit Adventure game on the Switch?
Yes, I have. I've played that game every day for the last 153 days.
Oh,
sure,
wow.
I have.
Oh, wow. You knew the exact number.
Quite impressive.
It tells you every day.
It does. It's real good. That was when we were in lockdown. That was how Chris and I got a lot of exercise in. But it's
Yes.
the female avatar. You get a fiery ponytail whenever you are, whenever you're all like amped up and doing the exercise really well. Your ponytail like lights on fire.
Oh,
So that made me think of that.
yeah. It's always nice to come across this sort of like a little resonant overlap. It's like the time I realized that Mag and Luisa Madrigal from Encanto are basically the same person.
Sure.
Yes.
Yeah. Anyway, Luisa Madrigal, her hair is glowing like the female avatar from the Switch game that
Yep.
I've never heard of.
This is a crossover app. This is exciting.
That's right. So yeah, right. And it's the Super Bowl episode. So okay, like with the grace and athletic will of a young Brett Favre, she
Perfect.
yeah, thanks. She
Finally, somebody said it.
it's just been hanging there.
Yeah.
She reaches behind her and she grabs her flail, and then with her third action, she will take a swing, I guess, at the swarm that is engulfing her and menacing Norman, who is on the ground.
Are these gnats? What is this? Norman says from the ground.
They appear to be particularly obstreperous pebbles. And that is a 25 to hit.
That hits. Just barely not a critical hit as Mag slams the flail into the swarm.
And the different sort of spikes from the flail are catching fragments of different of these pebbles as that flail does 10 points of damage to the swarm.
And the last of those pebbles get caught by the flail and just get blasted across this valley, slamming into the rock wall behind Vadim and Trill as that swarm is done.
Nice work, Mag.
And Mag screams at as it explodes. She screams at it. Let's see what she say. She would say something like, "Ah!"
That bit
And
never gets
as
old.
that scream echoes between these two walls of the valley, Norman finds himself on the ground, no longer being assaulted by these stones. What will Norman do?
So he sort of like scritches off his face as if there's been, a truly abhorrent swarm of gnats. And he stands up and he's kind of looking around and he points over at, what's our friend's name?
Philrook.
Hey, you! You said there were kobolds down here! Get over here! Come deal with these things!
Come deal with stones with mouths? No fucking way!
Yes, fucking way! And Norman tries a diplomacy check on this guy to see if he can get him to come join.
Okay. Sure, give me a diplomacy check.
It's a 14.
A 14 works.
Oh.
This guy has stats of, let's just call them zeros across the board.
All right. Literally
Okay.
anything he said was going to get him in the fight. I'm going to shit in your mouth if you don't get over here.
My God, Norman!
You know, if you had spelled that out, I would have asked you to make an intimidation check.
That's fair. That's
But,
fair.
we'll
No,
let the
it's-
diplomacy check
I don't
stand.
think that's where Norman's at right now, but
And he's like, oh, okay, I'll help you. It seems like you have this situation under control, but okay.
of course we do. And then Norman does a quick, he's got one action left from standing and getting Philric involved. And he does a quick foxfire at the
Oh.
swarm across from him. He's like kind of flustered, so he's like,
So this is the first time we're seeing this. So please explain what your companions are seeing for the first time.
Exciting.
So I think he stood up, he's brushed his face. He's like, "You get in here. This is not what you told us we were dealing with." And he's kind of like looking around, and he's his visions of picnicking and schnooks have shattered, and so he gets his hands up. And if you were to see them at the moment that the gold light comes out of them, you'd see his nails get just a little bit more animalistic and maybe a little bit of gray fur come out on the pads of his fingers. And he kind of shoots some effervescent gold lightning bolts out at this swarm. And that's a 24.
24 is going to hit as this bolt slams into these stones.
And that is 4 points of damage.
And those 4 points of damage leave just a couple of these stones bouncing around on top of Vadim and Trill. And we are here now at the beginning of round 2, as this swarm is just going to 3 times try to pummel Vadim and Trill over and over again. The last remaining stones just slamming, pop, 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 pelting into them over and over and over and over again. First one up, here comes 4 damage coming your way. And I need a reflex save from each of you.
Oh, that wasn't good. Well, I rolled a 2, so ended up with a 12.
And Vadim didn't do much better. He got a 15.
So those are both failures. You'll take the full 4 points of damage, and they just keep pummeling you. This time, 4 more points of damage, and a reflex save again, please.
Vadim is going to glimpse the first 4 points of damage for Trill.
And are you enfeebling this creature?
Absolutely.
It seems like it might want to become a good rock swarm, right?
Yeah, it would be like, oh no, I shouldn't be all biting.
Yeah.
All of me shouldn't be biting.
So for this second pummel, 4 points of damage, what are your reflex saves?
I rolled a 2 again for a 12.
So
Wow.
Trill will take the full 4 points,
Whoa.
Vadim got a 20.
and Vadim will take half damage. And here comes another slamming motion from these stones just beating into you over and over. 7 points of bludgeoning damage and a reflex save, please, to see how much of that you take.
A third one? Jesus. What is with these rolls? My reflex is so good, but I keep rolling shitty rolls. I rolled a 4 for a 14.
Vadim got a 16.
So you will each take those 7 points of damage.
Woof.
With that, it is Trill's turn as she sees her chance between these waves of stones just slamming into her. And what is Trill going to do?
Well, that was very rude.
So Trill's gonna move a few feet away. And then she's gonna acid splash once more.
Yeah, that sounds right.
Seems good.
Hell yeah.
Let him have it.
So sorry, Vadim.
Why are you apologizing for
Because you're gonna get a little
making
acid
this
splash.
fight an immense success?
Yeah, dispatching these things.
Yeah.
That's a 21 to hit.
21 hits. The acid splash sloshes forward onto these stones. I'm not even going to ask you to roll damage because these stones had 1 hit point left.
Woo! That damage would have been 8, though.
Max damage from Trill.
Extra dead.
Extra dead. Vadim and Mag both are going to take a total of 1 point of splash damage as these stones have settled into silence once more.
I didn't know that's where stones came from.
No.
I'm struggling to think of a response. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't think I totally.
I think I've demonstrated my brain is maybe not working.
When you're confronted with real science like that, I mean, you just have to, sometimes
they're
you just have
living
to
things
learn.
that, that gnomes just hit with acid and then they just become dead stones.
And then
It
become.
made sense to me. I think it's clear this is where stones come from.
Yeah, you, buddy, do you realize these aren't kobolds? You told us there were kobolds over here. This is a swarm of shitty stones.
I agree that was a swarm of shitty stones, but there are also... I'm pretty sure it was kobolds that followed after me.
Show us where. Where
Well,
up here?
Hold
Why?
on. Hold on. Trill looks over at Vadim and she goes, Vadim, I think I might need to lay on hands. That was a little bit more than I'm used to getting hit with.
Absolutely.
And as Trill calls Vadim for this healing, you see in the entrance to the valley, you see a tattered old burlap sack get flung high up in the air.
No.
Well, that's my mushroom picking sack, howls Philrook, and he runs straight up the slope. What do you do?
Mag follows.
Oh,
Okay.
that asshole.
Vadim follows.
That's a sack. It's not kobolds. I think he's crazy. Norman runs after them.
No sooner does Norman utter those words, I think he's crazy, does he see 2 kobolds step forward, jumping into the valley. And from the neck down, they look like what you would expect. Small, scale-covered, dragon-like humanoids wearing handmade armor and wielding improvised weaponry. But on their heads, there's something a little weird. Both of them have a strange sort of bulbous helmet on, sort of jiggling around like jelly. And the kobolds grab their spears and silently rush straight towards you and Philrook, these gelatinous helmets shaking around as they do so. And we will pick up from there next time.
Are these like brain controlled kobolds? For Pete's sake.
The Roots of Ruin is a Tabletop Gold production produced under the Paizo Incorporated Community Use Policy. The Roots of Ruin uses trademarks and/or copyrights owned by Paizo Inc., used under Paizo's Community Use Policy. We are expressly prohibited from charging you to use or access this content. Paizo does not recognize, endorse, or sponsor this project in any way. Original characters and content are the property of Tabletop Gold. For more information about Paizo Inc. and Paizo products, visit paizo.com. We at Tabletop Gold would love to hear from you. Email us at letters@tabletopgold.com and find all our social links at tabletopgold.com.